Any economic entity would do well to understand the concept of a production possibility frontier. This resource will explain why the production possibility frontier is needed, then provide a definition. We will then develop a production possibility frontier for an example economic situation. Production possibility frontiers are the result of scarcity. Just to review, scarcity is the idea that only a finite amount of resources exist for any economic entity, be it an individual, a business, or a government. These resources may be physical items like raw materials, land, or money, or they may be intangible items like time, intelligence, or energy. Assuming we know the limits of the resource, we can then identify the production possibility frontier. This is a graph that shows how the firm can use all its available resources, while striving for maximum efficiency. Let's see an example. Farmer Franny Brown owns a small 5-acre farm in the Midwest of the United States. The climate in the area makes her land ideal for growing either corn or potatoes. Farmer Brown wants to create a production possibility frontier to understand how she can best use her available land. Before we can create the graph, we need to determine how Farmer Brown can use her available land. It seems obvious that she can only plant one type of crop at any one location. Let us also assume that Farmer Brown will plant in 1-acre units. Now we can create our table of possibilities. Brown could devote her entire farm to growing corn and not plant any potatoes. Farmer Brown could choose to plant 4 acres of corn and 1 acre of potatoes. She could plant 3 acres of corn and 2 of potatoes. Farmer Brown might decide to plant 2 acres of corn and 3 of potatoes. Farmer Brown could plant 1 acre of corn with 4 acres of potatoes. Finally, Farmer Brown could use her entire farm to grow potatoes and plant all 5 acres with potatoes. Now that Farmer Brown has all the possibilities for using her land, we can create the graph. Note that the line slopes downward. All production possibility frontiers will have a negative slope. However, there are some other things to note about production possibility frontiers. A production possibility frontier demonstrates an optimal use of the available resource. Farmer Brown has 5 acres to plant, so it makes sense that she would plant all 5 acres. However, she could possibly plant a combination below the curve. She could plant 2 acres each of corn and potatoes, but she would be leaving a full acre empty. That is wasteful. Any combination of values above the curve is impossible. With only 5 acres available for planting, for example, Farmer Brown could not possibly plant 3 acres of corn and 3 acres of potatoes. Choosing which point along the production possibility frontier to plant requires a much deeper analysis of many other economic factors. Farmer Franny Brown must consider things like the going prices for corn and potatoes, presence of competition, and many other things before she can decide which combination of corn and potatoes she will plant according to her production possibility frontier.